from the invisible into the visible. So you see, when they talk with the number one, it starts with zero first and then one. But then you go all the way to nine, and then the one, I mean the zero succeeds the one. Where it
Right.
precedes the one, it succeeds the one, which means it's the same. So what you're dealing with on the first levels of condensation, because there's no such thing as creation. That's a misnomer.
Is
Because as
subtraction.
you said, exactly, nothing goes outside of the creator. There's nothing outside of the creator.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is within the creator. So the one to nine is a subtraction or a retraction process.
Mm-hmm.
That's that one tenth that they talk about that we exist in, that the brain exists in.
Mm-hmm.
So mathematics can go on to infinity. And when you're looking at infinity, that's where mathematics come in. But when you're dealing with life and consciousness, then you're dealing with eternity. So
Indeed.
one is masculine, the eternity, and one is feminine, infinity.
Mm-hmm.
So infinity is a numerical progression that goes on forever.
Mm-hmm.
Eternity is within the sphere. It's the sphere within which this particular mathematical process for existence exists.
Mm-hmm. I asked this question to Billy once, and I want to get your answer. I asked it to Billy Carson. I want to get your answer because you just talked about the brain creating this illusionary realm that we're experiencing right now.
Yeah.
So if the brain is creating, Doc, this illusionary realm that I'm experiencing, and my eyes are, in, it's the only part of the brain that we can see. It's an extension of the brain.
Hmm.
My question to you would be: once the spirit leaves this body, I don't have the brain and I don't have the eyes no more. How can I view, let's say my son, let's say my woman, if they were only part of that avatar experience with the brain and the eyes? My
Beautiful.
brain, my brain created them. I don't have the
Mhm.
brain no more. How can I observe them without that part of the avatar?
Residual ectoplasmic material.
What does that mean, Doc? What does that mean? Come on, break this down. This getting good. Come on, Doc. This is getting good.
Everything that exists has an auric field.
Yes.
And that auric field is your template, your physiology, and so forth. And depending on how strongly or how intensely you are connected to the physical, a specific template of that, an auric field can be seen of you. In other words, the eyes of the innocent can see you even after you've left the body because there's an ectoplasmic image of you that it eventually dissipates, of course, much like you see in the morning, you see dew, but after a while, when the sun comes up, it then dissipates. But your strong intention, for instance, when you pass away, you are seeing the sadness of the people who are lamenting your passing. Your intention, but from the physical memory that you've had of the aura, is there saying, I don't want to hurt these people. I want
Right.
to let them know I'm still here. I'm good. And so your intention to stay, little children have seen. I saw my grandmother
Wow.
when she passed.
Mhm.
I was at night, I was sleeping. I had to go to the bathroom. I got up and I went to the bathroom and the door wouldn't open.
Mhm.
So I'm looking at the door, and then there was a little crack in the door because the house was, old house,
Mhm.
and there's a little crack, and then you could peek in there to see if anybody's in there.
Mhm.
I saw my grandmother sitting on the toilet, and I said, "Oh wow, grandma's on the toilet," and I'm over here, beating her. Oh, and I went over to my mother. I felt in the thing, went to my mother and father's room, and I went to my mother. I said, Mom, I got to go to the bathroom." And she said, "I got to go." She said, "Oh, well, go ahead." I said, "Well, grandma's in there."
Ooh.
And she said, "What? Grandma's in there?" I
Ooh.
said, "Yeah, grandma. She's got the door locked. Grandma's in there." She went over there and opened the door where I couldn't open the door. The
Mhm.
light was on. She went over there, the light was off.
Wow.
A month later, we found out that she was in a coma
Mhm.
and passed. and she had come before she made that transition to see me because I was somebody. She used to call me Pip. She used to take
Mm-hmm.
the end of my name, Phil, Philip. She shrunk all the rest of them and called me Pip. When I went to Trinidad with my mother to see her, she was the matriarch, and of course she had 15 children. There must have been 80 of cousins. We were running all around the house,
Right.
and she was having dementia. And when I went there, and I'm running around with my cousins, acting the fool. I must have been about 13 or 14, and everybody would go up to her while she was sitting there. And of course, one of my aunts was there to, whisper in her ear, "Here's, this is who it is. This is Felix. This is Vince. This is Teddy. This is so forth." And my mother came up to me after in the yard. We was rumping and so forth. She said, "Come on, you have to come and say hello to your Nana now." So I went up to see it. My sister went up there first, and she went and hugged her. And my grandmother never moved. She just looked straight ahead.
Mm.
That's all she did.
Mm.
But when I came up to her and I went up there and I said, "Hey, Nana," and and my mother said, "No, Mama, it's Pip." All of a sudden, she said, "Pip,"
Mm.
and the whole room stopped. And I'm lying. I'm not lying. The whole room stopped and looked because she never talked. And she said, "Philip Pip Pip?" And I said, "Yeah." And I thought it was a big deal, because she used to always call me that. And I said, "Hey, Nana, how you doing? Everything is well, How you doing?" And she's saying, you're being a good boy, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I'm saying, yeah, Nana. She said, "Come give me a kiss." And I used to love her because when I was a little boy, she had these humongous boobs that I used to just nestle and just go to sleep on. After I left and said my hellos, she went right back into it.
Mm.
That's my story. And I know it happened. My sister can bear it out. My mother, bless her soul, she went for the afterlife as well. But I knew what it was. I know what happened, and I know what I saw that night when I tried to get into the bathroom and I could not open that door. The light was on, and I saw my grandmother sitting there on the toilet with her hands in her, what do you call it? And that was me. I said, no, there's definitely the soul can send itself to different places, and people have already claimed that right before someone has passed, or right when they did pass, they saw or heard from, or they saw their people, and they were talking directly to them. That's your ectoplasmic residual consciousness, and if it's strong enough, and your will is strong enough, people who have the eyes to see, the ears to hear, and the heart to feel will see you.
Man, see, this is why I tell y'all. Yeah, this is why I tell.
And be prepared because the who, what, when, where, and why that you see on that flyer is
Yeah.
going to be exposed. The way that Cat Williams is exposing everybody today,
Yeah.
and the courage it takes. Look at his life was almost taken a number of times, and look at the fact that Oprah is putting a hit out on him. Look at all of the people who are now crying the Moody Blues because this man is kept righteous, didn't bend over for anybody, and now because they are calling him all kind of names and doing all the things that they did to undermine people, all of the people that you had all loved and everybody that you thought was the kings and they did all the nah, it ain't like that. And so the people that are up in the political spheres, in the churches, in the mosques, and in all these places who are pretending, all of them who are pretending to help humanity, they're not. They're all for
Mm.
themselves. And the banking industry, everything that's getting ready to happen, make sure you know what you're going to do with your money. All of this is going to be discussed in that webinar.
Let me ask you this, Doc. Since we're talking
Mhm.
about Hollywood, I mean Hollywood. I mean these people in Hollywood. Oprah. You name Oprah. When I think of Oprah, now when I think of Oprah, I automatically think of Harvey Weinstein. They're
There you
like
go.
connect. They're like connected to me.
Oh
And
yeah.
what I want to ask you, and I want to tie Hollywood with your metaphysical studies, and I love doing that because people could understand it better because
Right.
they can relate to Hollywood. They've seen it their whole life on television.
Right.
So we have Hollywood, and we have these people that are notorious for lying, Doc. They get
Right.
on camera and they lie to us about who they are, what about Hollywood, about everything. They just lie. So
Yeah.
my question to you would be, being a metaphysician, yourself and many others on my platform, talk about the power of the imagination. My question would be, Doc, are liars more tapped in to their imagination than truth tellers? Because truth tellers observe, you talk about the cause and effect, truth tellers observe the physical to come up with a
Hmm.
conclusion. Liars tapping into some shit that ain't happened. They make it up. They just create some shit on the spot. This could have happened. I could have went left. They'll say, oh, I went right this way. That they'll just make some shit up. My question, are liars, and we're seeing these liars be successful in terms of finances. So, Doc, are liars more tapped in this into this imagination than people who observe the physical to tell the truth, Doc?
Well, let's not say that they're more tapped into the invisible. Let's just call them more cunning.
Cunning. Wow.
Cunning.
Interesting.
Why they study human nature,
Yes.
and they take it they take advantage of the vulnerabilities of the human spirit, the human heart, as well as the human passions and all the types of uh, what would I call it? Let's just say that they have weaknesses and addictions. And
Mm-hmm.
if you were to read some of the old materials, you would see that that what they did was they elevated human weakness
Mm-hmm.
to a science.
Yes.
And what they did was they knew how people would react. That's what psychology is about, or psychiatry is about, not psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Psychology is the study of how people think and what motivates thinking. Psychiatry is controlling thinking, you see. So
Yes.
psychiatry
That's
is
deep.
not
That's
a
deep.
real science.
Uh-huh. Okay.
It's a means of control. So liars, as you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
liars are not tapped into anything but what their own selfish way of utilizing free will.
Mm-hmm.
Liars understand that free will can give you anything that you put out there because every human is a creator.
Mm-hmm.
They understand that. So if you're a creator, you can create any reality you want and then put it out there like a merchant
Mm.
sale. And that's what they do. It's called one of the sciences that I will teach is called synthetic synchronicity. This is the most sophisticated form of lying because they set the modem, they set the direction for the lie, they give you the substance necessary to support the lie, and it's even to a point where we call it predictive programming, where I can tell you this is what's going on. And then because you believe just that first point, I can then set up a synchronistic pattern where every time you look for evidence of whether I'm right or wrong, the pattern has already been set in place to substantiate what I said as a lie in the beginning.
Whoo.
So, in that
Whoo.
synchronistic format, you're going to fall into every piece of evidence, and that's how they play you on the news. The news is synthetic synchronicity.
Synthetic synchronicity.
That's what I call it.
Love it.
It's
Love it.
an artificial way of getting you to marginalize your attention, your
Yeah.
perception, and your consciousness towards an end that they already have predicted, that they
Right.
already set in place. It's the Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution. So a liar is not anyone that is tapping into any real spirit. They have to be more imaginative because they have to compound all the necessary materials that go to substantiate their lies. But they have to keep jumping from one foot to the other because a lie always lies on the liar.
Mm. Mm.
And they will always lie on the liar and then tell the truth because the lie that the liar puts out there comes up against the universal truth. And who gonna win then? So liars have to do it. But then when you lie long enough, like this society and this Europeans paradigm, when you lie long enough, and the people begin to see that the lie is beginning to become threadbare and falling apart like a cheap sweater, That lie cannot exist. Just like evil cannot exist, it cannot exist very long. It begins to wane. It begins to eat on itself like a cancer. A lie is like a cancer. It begins to eat on itself. And all they do, people who are liars, good ones, is they keep patching up the holes, keep patching up all the bruises that that lie has created. And so you have people who lie, like you see the government right now. Everything is I mean, everything is falling down now. You can't lie to anybody anymore. I've never lied to the people because I know what a lie does. It comes back on the liar. Look at what the lies have done that Cat came out. Cat is just simply the person who opened up the door and pulled the curtain aside.
Indeed.
The
Indeed.
liars, they convicted and indicted themselves.
Hmm.
You see, so if the judge says to the bailiff, "Could you read the charges?" Who's the one who did it? Who put the charges? Who caused the bailiff to have to read the charges before the judge? The liar. And the liar going to end up coming before the judge pretty soon. I'm not talking about no Jesus Christ. I'm talking about himself.
Doc, if these people take a little bit, they take the truth and they bend it and they twist it to hurt us and to our disadvantage,
Right?
should we take the truth, bend it and twist it to our advantage? They take the truth and they may take the concept of the law of attraction and they're bended and twisted and put a white man in front of it and they say, if you pray to this man, then you'll get what you want. Yeah, you could get what you want, but you don't have to pray to that white man. Should we do the same, but to benefit our people?
No, you get no, you can't. You can't use the tactics of the evil one,
Okay, okay.
because what that will do is just bring the evil in to substantiate what you're doing,
Mm, mm,
because you're
mm.
using that power as your means to broadcast or to forward your message. No, let
Indeed.
your message be pure.
Yes.
Let your message be clear, because that will cut through all the bullshit that they tried to do to cover their own asses.
Hmm.
It's not going to work, and you have to remove yourself from the truth and trying to over substantiate it. The truth doesn't need that much help.
Right.
You don't need to actually sit the truth up and then get your guns out and start shooting at everything that you believe is wrong. The
Hmm.
truth will stand for itself. They say the truth crushed to earth shall always rise.
Hmm.
So when you remove yourself from the consequences of evil, when you remove yourself and know that everything balances itself in the end and that you're in the middle of the crucible that's going to bring the truth to light, all you say is, I just take 500 milligrams of fuck it all.
Woo! Fuck it all, Doc. Doc is
And,
raw. Yes, all right.
and then
Yes,
say,
sir.
okay, I'll tell you what. You come to me and tell me what your immediate problem is, your individual problem is, because I do counseling that way. And I
Mhm.
will tell you what it is that you have done to actually get in your own way,
Indeed.
you see.
Wow. So Doc, one thing also, and for the people asking in the chat, the link to the webinar is now pinned at the top of the chat. So
Mhm.
it's in the description and it's pinned at the top of the chat. So I advise everybody, if you didn't make the first one, sign up to Doc's webinar. The brother just said it's going to be 11 and a half hours. The link to sign up is at the pinned at the top of this chat, family.
Indeed.
Okay.
Indeed.
And so Doc, wonderful conversation we're having as always. I always have a wonderful conversation with you, my brother. Another thing that
You're easy to talk to, beloved. You are
I
so easy to talk to. You have no
pre-
idea.
appreciate it, my brother. One thing I know a lot of us. You mentioned Cat Williams,
Yeah.
and he talked about the Hollywood. He also talked about drugs in Hollywood briefly. One of the drugs that is very popular in this country is alcohol. Now, in
Right.
the spiritual community, Doc, they say alcohol. Another name for alcohol is spirits. And when you drink alcohol and you get drunk, you could black out, and a spirit could take over your body,
Right.
possess you.
Yeah.
My question to you, Doc, is one thing that a lot of people do once they drink and they have and they engage with alcohol, they have sex, Doc. So my
Yeah.
question to you, Doc, is once a person gets drunk, say they get so drunk they black out. The brother, lady he's with, she gets drunk, she's black out. They engage in sex, she gets pregnant. Now, is
Yeah.
the child that is born, does it have the energy of the spirit that possessed that man,
Wow.
that child that is born, or is
Yeah.
that child the spirit of the original host of that avatar?
That's the thing that happens with people who don't understand what, say, ayahuasca is, what the
Yeah,
mushroom plant is, what alcohol or what they call the spirits really are.
yeah.
The spirits were actually to use to cleanse the environment, not to be drank. If you want a walk-in, if you're practicing, say,
Hmm.
contemplai or one of those, and there is a particular spirit based upon a particular thought or action that the spirit represents, then what happens is your body, you have to diminish your consciousness for the spirit to enter into the body. You have to take it, you have to take yourself out of the equation. And that's why they say that a drunk man's words are a sober man's thoughts.
Woo.
So when you're dealing with the spirit from alcohol, you are removing yourself from the man, the sober man,
Hmm.
and you're going into the truth teller,
Hmm. Hmm.
the one who does not hold his tongue,
Hmm.
and you get more information out that the person who would be more discreet, the sober man is more discreet with his words, he's more discreet with his actions. The drunk man is not. So that using the alcohol for that reason is the only reason, because then you have the people around him or her to protect that entity that comes in to speak the truth.
Hmm. Okay.
But
Okay.
these people take, they took it and they used it. Now the European man needed the alcohol because the alcohol was the way that he was able to convert